I went away on holiday and completely messed up. I had my first drink in 160 days. And this is the reason that I went on the sober journey in the first place, because I drank all of this that you can see in front of you in one summer. It's 12 bottles of spirits, 3 bottles of wine. And looking at this amount of alcohol now in a matter of 12 weeks, just going through my body and through my veins, makes me kind of sick. So how did my first drink in 6 months feel? But before we get into that, I want to talk about something probably a little bit controversial to those who watched my previous video on sobriety, and that's the benefits of alcohol. And yes, believe it or not, I think there is some, depending on where you're up to in the stage in life. Now for me, that stage in life was when I was a teenager and when I was at university. I wasn't someone who had lots of confidence. I was maybe a little bit of an introvert going into the teenage years of my life. And I felt like alcohol probably gave me that confidence to allow me to be myself, to meet other people, and also probably have relationships with people who I've then gone on to build more substance from that relationship and also still friends with in later life. It's probably where also some of my fondest memories are, and where I had some pretty crazy holidays. If I'm honest, it's probably how I had sex for the first time as well, because without it, I was just a bit of a frigid mess and wouldn't have lost my virginity. Maybe for many years later, had I hadn't had the confidence to actually even speak to another female of the opposing sex to then lead to that position of engaging. So why then did I give it up? Well, as I moved into heavy drinking. So for me, I started to develop things such as anxiety, or hangxiety, a lot of people will refer to it as. And I didn't really truly understand the reason behind anxiety until I looked at it further. So it's the way that alcohol works on the brain and the receptors, which makes it feel more relaxed when you start drinking. As drinking continues, our brains also start to shut off glutamate, which makes you anxious, increasing the feelings of calm and being uninhibited. But as the effects of alcohol wear off, our brain tries to restore the normal chemical balance, and it does it by reducing the brain's GABA and increasing that glutamate. So together this has the opposite effect compared to when you're drinking, and increases your anxiety the next day. It's important to remember that many of the anxious thoughts or feelings that you or me might have from drinking are caused by this chemical imbalance, not because you've actually fucked up and done something wrong. I also noticed that my body just didn't handle alcohol as well as younger. When I was 16, 17, 18, I felt like I could run through walls, whereas now when I drink alcohol, it feels like I've literally been hit by the wall. It also doesn't serve me in the fact that I've now got friends, I've now got relationships. I don't need the confidence. I've built that through evidence and experience in life, so I didn't need to rely on alcohol to give me that confidence moving forward. And it's also meant that I can be myself a lot more rather than relying on alcohol to be another version of me. So what was the reason then that I drank on holiday? To be honest, it's pretty much because I said I would. I know that sounds strange to a lot of people, but the whole reason I set out on the sober journey was to try and regain my relationship with alcohol again. And I said, I'm going to do it until my honeymoon. Honeymoon's a big occasion. It's one where I want to enjoy myself. And I said, if I felt like the occasion would be benefited by alcohol, then I'd do it. And I guess my logic behind this was, how do I know if I better my relationship with alcohol if I don't test it? And I know that probably makes me sound like one of those Love Island bellends saying that, oh, if I don't test my relationship, then how do I know that I'm in love? But I guess that was kind of my logic. On the other hand, obviously my wife, Lucy, drinking on the holiday was a factor. And as I mentioned, I was only going to drink if I felt like it benefited the occasion, which is why I didn't drink for 4 to 5 days on the holiday until we went to this nice bougie restaurant which sold expensive lobster, overpriced drinks, but free brioche bread. Anyway, the first drink I had was a Corona, and it felt okay. It didn't blow me away. I didn't feel wow. I didn't feel bad for having the drink. It was kind of, I drank it and just nothing, which I think kind of now reflecting on it, I could have just had a Diet Coke and would have felt the exact same way. I didn't need to have a drink to enhance the occasion, but did I need to have a drink to experience that? Maybe, maybe not. From there, I probably didn't have a drink for a couple of days. Just went out and had Diet Cokes on honeymoon until we did something called the Epcot Bar Crawl. Yes, even Disney has a bar crawl. And on this, you have a drink in every country, essentially, as you go around Epcot, which has countries dashed around this big lake/pavilion. The difference doing it this time to previous times was that I only drank in the countries that I actually wanted to have a drink. I didn't do it because I wanted to tick a box instead. I drank in every country, which meant that I had kind of maybe 6 drinks instead of the either 9 or 10 that is part of the bar crawl. And again, this was a win for me because I was having a drink because I wanted to have a drink, not because I was forced to by some logic and parameters of a game that someone had had made up around the Disney park. And believe it or not, on the plane back, I was discussing this with Lucy, my wife, and the Epcot day was one of the best ones that we've had. And then I started to reflect on it and thought, was it because of the drink? And then I broke it down to, I'm in my favorite of the Disney parks with my favorite person, my wife, on my honeymoon, which is a once in a lifetime for most people. It's 28 degrees in sun, and I'm watching bands and eating my favorite food. Of course, this is going to be one of the best days. It would have been easy to then correlate the best day being because I drank the most alcohol, but it was because of the other underlying factors that I hadn't even subconsciously thought about, making it the best day of the whole day. The drink was just a part of the day, and I genuinely believe I would have had just as a good a day if I drank alcohol-free drinks, or I just had a diet soda in each of the countries. All the other evenings throughout the honeymoon, I just had a Diet Coke or an alcohol-free beer, and even that after a while I just got bored of. Another two benefits of not drinking too much whilst I was there was, one, the bill was a hell of a lot smaller, and two, it was a hell of a lot easier not to go out there, which got me thinking of sometimes did I just drink because I had nothing to do or was bored, or go on a weekend or arrange a social occasion with the lads because I had nothing else in the diary. Now, doing this almost 6 months sober, there was obviously massive advantages to what I'd found from not drinking, such as better sleep, better recovery. I saved money. I wasn't as much of a dick when I went out. I could remember what I'd done. I could remember the night. My anxiety is literally gone. The induced anxiety I get from drinking is and was enough to put me off drinking all the time. An alcohol reset. That was one of the other benefits from it that I realized when I did the Epcot bar crawl, that I didn't need as many drinks to get me into that place where I was a bit tipsy. And even then, the next day, I didn't have as much of a hangover. I believe the reason for this why is that once your sensitivity of alcohol decreases, you then need more alcohol to get tipsy or to get drunk, which then means the next day the effects of the chemicals in the alcohol are a lot higher, which means that hangover or the anxiety is a lot more severe. Another benefit is that I probably have less friends but a lot closer group of friends, and that's because I just don't need a drinking buddy because I'm not drinking. And if the only reason I have that relationship with the person is through alcohol, then the friendship is probably not one that I need to engage with or commit any real time to. And the final reason is being sex. I have way better sex and a lot more of it. And especially because we're trying for kids at the moment, it's definitely made me rethink about things and fertility and the actual underlying effects it has on my general health, especially as I got older. To conclude, am I going to drink anymore moving forward? Well, if in moderation, yes, and if not, no. I guess that gives no real definitive answer. For me now and where I'm up to, I've realised that there's no net physical or mental benefits from me having a drop of alcohol. But the question I think you need to ask yourself, if it's something you're contemplating at the moment, is do you enjoy it? And does it bring anything to your life in this current moment in time? I can honestly say there's been no net negatives to the journey of me stopping drinking. Only an absolute barrage of positives in the way that has benefited my life. On the same note though, I think some people do mentally masturbate over the numbers that are on an app such as the one that I was using in continuing to count your sober streak. When does it become a factor of you no longer count the amount of days in which you're sober and just say, I don't drink?